First tip is capital. This is an easy one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. So you'll have to ensure that you have enough capital, at least to run for about 12 months. There's a tip I want to share, that is 12 months is like a rule of thumb or like a best practice. Depending on your risk appetite, that means like how much of risk you want to take. You can have like cash at hand for like to run 3 months, but after 3 months you expect all your plans come through and you will start hitting the targets that you wanted to hit, and that's fine. And that again, there are more variables at play, how fresh is your concept, how great is your location, so certain locations you don't need anything else, like location will serve you and get you money. So if you struck gold like that, then it's a problem, then you don't need to plan for 12 months. So some of these are best practices, and there are many variables at play. So you will have to apply it to your concept and your context and see whether it's applicable to me and how far it's applicable. Okay, next tip. Second tip is obviously location. Right. So like I said, if you have a great location, for example, let's say 98 acres in Alla, ideally located, and there are no competition. That's a hotel though, not a restaurant per se, but there is no other competition, and ideally located, it's very difficult to beat. Or like Tea Trails, that's another hotel chain. They're like these colonial bungalows, estate bungalows owned by Dilma. That those locations are like unbeatable. So even if it's like minimum other facilities, you can, with the location itself, you can score. So that's like the scenery and the background. Apart from that, when you are establishing like your new restaurant, or if you already have one, you need to see the factors are is this place accessible? Is there sufficient parking? Is the visibility clear? What is the potential traffic and competition and proximity for it? For example, I can give an example of like location. So if any one of you are living down Nigambu Road, there are certain stretches of the Nigambu Road, when traffic is there, crossing over to the other side is very, very difficult. So if you have a great restaurant that goes against the traffic, you're not going to get great sales. That's a lot of the restaurants are located when you go from Colombo to Nigambo on that side. Why? Because in the evening, that's the route people take to go home, not the other side. So these are some of the things sometimes as business owners we tend to overlook. Is okay, what's the location? It's Nigambo Road, right on the Nigambo Road side, but we don't consider is it towards Colombo side, Nigambo side, what is that best kind of location for me? Is there enough parking for it? So obviously you can discount so you can be located on the other, you can be located against the traffic, but if your concept is extremely fresh and your customer reviews are over the top, your service is extremely good, so you can obviously overcome. There's no denying that, but location will give you an advantage. So especially if you're considering a new location, please do have a kind of a checklist. Location evaluation we tend to overlook, and even big brands suffer heavily when they get the location wrong. Next one. Number 3 is business planning. Again, I'm not planning to spend a lot of time here. Only thing I want to highlight is that a business plan will give you clarity. Because like I said, when we are starting a business, we are all passionate and we believe in it. We are emotional about it. But a business plan will tell you exactly how many sales are we expecting. If we are to break even, how many sales do we have to do? What is going to be our average ticket size, so on. So against this, you can measure everything on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, so that you know whether you're hitting your targets or not. Apart from that, if you're expecting financing from a bank or even from a investor, you need to have a business plan. Any investor will be looking at the business plan before they invest. So how sound your business plan will determine what kind of funding you're going to get. So this is an important element if you're looking at that angle. If you're like bootstrapping, that is like you invest your own money and you want to do that, then like whether you have a sound business plan or not, like financing will not be affected, but your operations will be affected. So best tip I can give you is that like if you're great at business planning, that's really good, like more power to you. But if you feel like you're not really good at business planning, but you have an idea that's a winner, you want to convert that into a business plan, you ask for help. There'll be like so many companies who can do this for you, not a lot of cost, but what that will be saving for you will be like significant. I'll give you an example. It's like if you want to do your, I mean, like there's a tax issue going on like right now in Sri Lanka. If you're paying income tax, rather than going through the income tax code and all that, it's very easy to like outsource that. There are tax firms who will do that for you. They will like take care of it. What that does is like that will take away like a big headache and a pain point for you. So consider outsourcing for like some of the specialized areas. Next one. Yeah, service. I think in this webinar, probably the most important thing should be about service, because this is how a restaurant business can stand out. This is how you can make your customers come back. So loyalty, repeat customer behavior, everything's built through service. And obviously, like let's say, food quality and taste of the food is a given. If you have like bad food, like it's bland, people are going to not only dissatisfied, they are going to complain. That is even like worse than like a dissatisfied customer is a complaining customer. So apart from that, let's say you have like like a great kitchen and like they produce the best kind of food. How you take it to the next level is with your service. So there are a couple of elements to service in terms of like I brought in this example saying, as a business owner, I think you should do what we call like customer touchpoint analysis or like a guest trail analysis. That is, what are the touch points where customer is impacted when they walk in, or like even before they walk in. If you're doing any marketing activities, like that is the first touch point. That's how probably they get to know your product. Maybe they get to know your restaurant through another friend, through recommendation. That's the best form of marketing, actually. So touch point number one. Touch point number two, when they actually come into the restaurant, your parking. If your security guard is grumpy all the time and he's going to turn away like more customers than your food or like anything else. So it's important for you to like give some kind of training to the guy saying that like be pleasant. So likewise, like when you do all the guest trail, you need to see how do I reduce friction, or like how do I create like a memorable experience in not everything, in some of it. Because all you need to create is like one or two memorable experience in the whole trail for it to be a fantastic experience. But you can't drop the ball in other touch points as well. Yeah, so I want to share this like five-star tip. Five-star tip meaning like five-star restaurants used to do this. That is, let's say this is like a low-hanging fruit, very easy to do. That is like, let's say a family walks in, let's say family of 4. You want to make it a memorable experience for these people. The best way to do that is use focus on the kids. How do we do that? Let's say the order is placed, and like your staff should be trained to look at these touch points. They should be looking at like how do I create like a memorable experience for this family. Very easy. Let's say you overhear something that the parents are saying. Let's say the child is asking for like fresh milk or something like that. You can offer that. It's not going to, I know like right now a liter of fresh milk will cost you about 450, 500 rupees. But to offer a class and win that loyalty and win that recommendation, I think that's a easy cost benefit analysis. Or like that's why a lot of restaurants give like soft toys away and things like that. But you don't need to give any freebies because it dilutes the whole experience. But with your service, for example, your order taker can ask for customizations, saying that for kids, should we do less spicy or something like that. At least the parents will not take that in that way, but they will appreciate the thought. So these are very easy to do things, but goes a long way. Or many restaurants offer, for example, chutneys at Cinnamon Grand. When you finish a meal, they give refreshments like mint and different chewable things, so that your mouth is fresh, and it's given free of charge. They don't expect anything in return for that. Small things, but done thoughtfully, and that is the important thing, done thoughtfully. If we become all mechanical about it, and if we go through like a cookie cutter, people tend to sense that. They be like, okay, they're giving this, there's no thought in it. But if you really thought through and do that activity with the intention, then you're going to get that response as well. So in terms of service, yeah, I can go into more details based on the we'll have a quick Q&A session as well. So all I have to say is service is what we call is not hygiene need. When I shared what a bad restaurant would look like, there's slow service and there is rude service. Highlights two essential things. One, slow service meaning efficiency. How efficient are your processes? How efficient is your staff? What is the turnaround time? How fast you can go and offer the menu and get the order? On the other hand, how can you train your staff in a way they are not rude or they are not intrusive, and your customers feel these guys are polite and they are very pleasant? Two business people come for a business discussion, and they're in a heated business discussion. Will you barge in and ask are you ready to order? Do you do that? Or how do you build that element into your staff is the most important thing. So when it comes to your restaurant staff, easy tip, another tip, don't hire cheap. If you hire cheap, that's you're going to bring your own brand down. Invest that money in good people. Invest in systems so that you can release these good people to do their thing. A lot of the time what happens is restaurants are run especially during rush hours, it's very chaotic. So waiters are trying to get the order, run to the kitchen to do all these functional things that is non-value adding to the customer, or it's not going to create a memorable experience for the customer. You're going to meet those hygiene needs. Because most of the time what happens is person comes in and waits for 15-20 minutes, even more, just to get the menu offer. Right. So service is definitely a game changer. It can be a deal breaker when it goes down. That's why people complain. So service is not something okay, I'll give you a hygiene factor example, cleanliness. If food, let's say food is being brought and that plate is not being washed, or there are old food particles in that plate, people are going to complain because they expect a clean plate. If you clean your plate using the most expensive items, people are not going to rave about okay, my plate was clean. They're never going to rave about a clean plate. But if it's not clean, they're going to complain about it. So that is a classic, what we call a hygiene factor. But service is not like that. If your service is slow, if your service is rude, people are going to complain. That is the hygiene element of service. But if you go out of your way and create a great experience for the customer, they are going to rave about your business. That's why service is not a purely hygiene. So you need to have, if you have great service, you're going to have great customer reviews. As simple as that. So let's go to the next one. Standards. So standard is something like a lot of, let's say, standalone restaurant tend to ignore, but it's very, very important. For example, I mean, this is not rocket science. These are like very basic things, but a lot of, like, let's say you take any five-star restaurant, you would have heard about like Michelin star kind of restaurants. All they do is they operate on checklist. They have a checklist for every single thing, like kitchen cleanliness, product standards, service standards, so on. So about like food order pickup, what the tip I want to share was like, if you take any five-star restaurant and its kitchen, during the food pickup area, that means like, the kitchen staff will prepare the food, restaurant staff, that is waiters, will come and pick up the food and go and offer to the customers. In this order pickup area, all different types of dishes that this restaurant serves is printed in color and it's displayed so everyone can see. So more advanced restaurants use like displays, like digital displays, or like basically all the restaurants use these colored prints. What it does is when the cook finishes the dish, they need to do the garnishing and the right kind of finish. They can do a quick comparison between the picture and what they have created. If it's not good enough, they can't send it. Then waiter comes to pick the order, they can also do the same comparison with the standard of the picture and what the cook has created. And if there is a mismatch, they don't take it. Then it has to be recooked, and then there is a delay, like a food delay. Then you have to go and inform the customer about the delay, or you need to like give something on the house so that like customer is not satisfied, but dissatisfied. So likewise, it's very important. But what I want to ask you is that like in your restaurants, do you practice that? If you're practicing that, it's great. If you're not practicing, like it's a low hanging fruit. You can do it like within like within an hour. Then you need to establish a set of SOPs, standard operating procedures on how to run the restaurant. Break the restaurant down to like kitchen area, restaurant area, then break it down to like products, cleanliness, so on. Again, there are companies who does this for you. They already have like if you are to run a restaurant, what are the checklists you need to have? They will come and like observe your restaurant and they will do the customized job even. So I can share a sample checklist. I think it's in the next slide, just for you to get an understanding about like when it comes to like if the heading is cleanliness, what are the areas that's looked at in one of those checklists. The checklists are like so if you check like how to run a restaurant, maybe the checklist is like 200 lines, but I just brought in like few so that you can get an idea. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so when it comes to restaurant cleanliness, starting with like restaurant walls, clean and free of stains. Restaurant cutlery and crockery, linen, floor, ceiling, AC vents, glassware, any chemical like toxic materials that you use for cleaning, so on. So basically, if you take the restaurant area, everything's been taken care of. Walls has been looked at, cutlery and crockery, linen, floor, ceiling, AC vents, glassware, the works. Only thing that's not covered in this checklist is the equipment, because there is a different checklist for equipment. Where the equipment is clean, like whether there are damages, where the table is wobbly, so on. So these are not again expensive. If you don't have these in place, I suggest you have them, because it's very very easy. If you want to go for like a lot of restaurants would have these like HACCP and ISO 22000 and like different kind of certifications. So the starting point is you have an operating system that is your like standards. You call it standards, SOPs, whatever you call it. If you don't have them, develop them. If you need help to do that, ask for that help. Like so again, that's another tip I gave earlier as well. Sometimes if you don't have the capabilities built in house, it's easy to outsource and get that, and then you slowly build that capability in house as well. Okay, next one.